Hello and welcome to another episode of The Way I See It. Today I'm talking about the current trending hot topic, Christian nationalism. So let's get started. Today we're talking about Christian nationalism, and this is a topic this is a term that's being thrown around all of a sudden, and it's ever morphing, it's ever changing in what it means. So I'm going to dive into it a little bit here, and I'm going to read some scriptures and talk about what I think is a proper way for Christians in any nation to participate as members of that nation. Thank you to all of my subscribers. If you haven't, please subscribe. Click the notification or click the subscribe link here if you're on your computer. If you're on a mobile device, scroll down under here and just click the red subscribe link, and then click the notification bell so that you will be notified when I upload new material. I've got a few new things coming out over Christmas, but it won't be like my typical twice a week kind of thing. In fact, I'm already delayed. What should have come out yesterday probably won't come out till tomorrow, and then I've got an interview I'm recording today. It'll come out some point over the Christmas break, and then this will also come out at some point over the Christmas break. So it may just end up being one a week. Maybe I'll get back to 2 a week. I don't know. So thank you if you are a subscriber. I said in a joke way back several months ago when I had maybe 30 subscribers that if I had enough, I would call them followers of the way. So I think I'm going to do that. Welcome, followers of the way. And if you're not one, I hope you'll become one. And that has a double meaning because obviously followers of the way are people who follow Christ. In the book of Acts, he was the way, the truth, and the life. And so people who followed him were followers of the way. And then obviously the name of this show is The Way I See It. So if you're a subscriber, you're a follower of the way in that way. Maybe you're both. Hopefully you're both. So I'm trying to help folks deepen and broaden their Christian worldview so that they can apply it to every aspect of their life. And I want them to truly understand what it means to see the world as a Christian and not allow just the secular culture to just infiltrate our ways of thinking. And so this is one of the things that's real big on the trending topics right now. So I'm going to talk about Christian nationalism. Is it right or is it wrong? Depends on if you're a Republican or a Democrat, I suppose. I'm going to start by reading some scriptures, both from the Old Testament, and talk about them, and then we're going to define the terms, and then I'm going to kind of wrap up with my defined term of what I think a Christian nationalist should be. There's a dog barking in the background. So, try to ignore that. Hopefully it's not too noticeable over this video. Don't even know where that's coming from. So I'm going to start off in Genesis chapter 11, and this is the Tower of Babel, starting right off in the beginning and reading through verse 9. At one time, the whole earth had the same language and vocabulary. As people migrated from the east, they found a valley in the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, "Come, let us make oven-fired bricks." They used brick for stone and asphalt for mortar, and they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the sky. Let us make a name for ourselves, otherwise we will be scattered over the face of the whole earth." Then the Lord came down to look over the city and the tower that the men were building. Now, did the Lord need to come down? No, we think he's omniscient and he can see what's going on from heaven or where, he's omnipresent, so he's already kind of around anyway. This idea that he came down to look over the city has more to do with the fact that he's a personal God and he takes a personal interest in what is going on. And look at the city and the tower that the men are building. The Lord said, if they have begun to do this as one people, all having the same language, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down there and confuse their language so that they will not understand one another's speech. So from there, the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth, and they stopped building the city. Therefore, its name is called Babel, or Babylon. Babel became Babylon. For there the Lord confused the language of the whole earth, and from there the Lord scattered them over the face of the whole earth. Now, what we see there is that he did something that they were commanded to do that they were not doing. He had told them when Noah and his family came off the ark to scatter and fill the earth. And it appears that they kind of stayed clustered and migrated together. And when they got over here, they started building this tower, and then God said, "You're disobeying me. I told you to scatter. I'm going to make you do it. He just comes in and says, now you can't understand each other, different languages. Now you're going to do what I wanted you to do in the first place, which was to scatter. So what we see here is kind of a direct slap in the face to modern day ways of thinking that all of us just need to come together and we need to unify. That's that humanistic mindset that we're all just, if all of humanity would just join together, we can accomplish anything, right? That's exactly what they tried to do here. And God did not want that. He didn't want them to accomplish anything. He wanted them to obey him. So the idea that Christian nationalism is wrong because you're too focused on your nation being the best and you don't have this global outlook and you apparently don't love people of other nations. That's what they really think. They really think if you're a nationalist, then you hate anyone who's not part of your nation. But the thing is, God told them to separate and make different cities and make different nations. The idea that we should all just join together and be one human race and do everything with one mindset is looked down upon and condemned by God here. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't love all humans. I'm pro-life. I think we should love all humans, no matter whether they're white, black, whether genetically, perfect, or having Down syndrome or any other genetic abnormalities, whether being out of the womb and having lived a fantastic life and done great things, or being in the womb, not having done anything yet. I believe all lives, all individual lives are important and important to God because every single person contains the imago Dei, the image of God. That means that every single person is important and deserves my love, my respect. I should try and pray and hope that they'll come to Jesus, right? But that does not mean that all of humanity should join together and just set out to accomplish whatever we put our minds to. Because on the flip side, I believe that there's no one righteous, no one seeks after God. So when a bunch of humans not seeking after God all join together, their purposes are going to be nefarious. So this makes the case that all humans setting out to do one thing together is not good. So this makes the case for nationalism. Now I'm going to look at Jeremiah 29. This is the beginning of Jeremiah's letter from Jerusalem to the rest of the elders and the exiles, starting in verse 4 and going through 14. This is what the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, says to all the exiles I deported from Jerusalem to Babylon. I deported, God says. Build houses and live in them. Plant gardens and eat their produce. Take wives and have sons and daughters. Take wives for your sons and give your daughters to men in marriage, so that they may bear sons and daughters. Multiply there, do not decrease. Seek the welfare of the city I have deported you to. Pray to the Lord on its behalf, for when it has prosperity, you will prosper. For this is what the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, says, don't let your prophets who are among you and your diviners deceive you. So not all prophets and diviners are good. And don't listen to the dreams you elicit from them. For they are prophesying falsely to you in my name. I have not sent them. This is the Lord's declaration. For this is what the Lord says, when 70 years for Babylon are complete, I will attend to you and will confirm my promise concerning you to restore you to this place. For I know the plans I have for you. This is the Lord's declaration. Plans for your welfare, not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. You will call to me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. I will be found by you. This is the Lord's declaration. And I will restore your fortunes and gather you from all the nations and places where I banished you. This is the Lord's declaration. I will restore you to the place I deported you from. So let me just go ahead and quickly touch on Jeremiah 29:11, such a famous verse. I am one of the people that does not claim this personally for myself, but just as he is speaking, first of all, he's speaking to the nation. You is a plural you. For I know the plans I have for you, all of you, declares the Lord. So he's going to do this for this nation, this covenant people, the people of Israel. He's going to gather them back, and if they seek him, they're going to find him, and he's going to bring them back from all the nations. So I believe that we can claim this as Christians collectively, that 29:11 can apply not to me personally, that God knows the plans he has for Rachel, that he's going to prosper Rachel and not harm Rachel, but that he knows the plans he has for all of me and all of the communion of saints, all of his people, that he's going to prosper us and not harm us, and he's going to gather us together, being, in the new city, in the new Jerusalem, in the resurrection. That's how I see that verse and that section. But what we're finding here is that he's telling them, seek the welfare of the place you're living. So this is going to kind of kick me right into my final point. But before I get there, I want to talk about, so right here we kind of have to define the terms. I'm not going to define the terms necessarily, but I'm just going to say, when you hear them, think to yourself, well, that could mean any number of things, and I don't know how this person is using the term. Because what I could tell you right now concerning any term would only be my definition, and that's really the problem we have today on the internet. Everybody's throwing around these words, and some people are meaning different things by them than other people. So some of the terms that we should define within our individual conversations when you have these conversations, if you have these conversations, would be the term white nationalist, white Christian nationalist, because that's different than just a Christian nationalist, right? Because you could have people who aren't white, who are Christians, who are Christian nationalists. And do that mean that they want this to be a Christian nation? Or I'm going to go into my definition that they are just a Christian who wants the prosperity of their nation, seeks the welfare of their nation, where they currently live, whether that be in some other nation around the world or in the USA. So what do you mean by a Christian nationalist? Are they nationalists first and a Christian second? Are they a Christian first and a nationalist second? Are they trying to impose Christianity on the whole nation? And if they're white, do they want the white people to be at the top of the ladder? So you have white Christian nationalist, and then altogether differently is white supremacist. But the problem is, I see those as different terms with different meanings, and some people see them as kind of the same, and they just throw them around and use them interchangeably. So I think you have to define your terms. So, and what is a nationalist? A nationalist is someone who wants to protect their nation. They want to put the needs of their nation ahead of needs of people outside of their nation, whether they be in, some other nation around the world, whether they be Chinese or whether they be here in America. They want to protect their national interests first. So here's what I think before I kind of wrap this up, based on that passage from Jeremiah 29. For us as Christians, here's how I think we should be Christian nationalists. We should be. It's not a term I'm going to be offended by. If you use it and it's not the way I think it should be used, maybe I'll discuss that with you, but overall I think the term can adequately apply to us and not in a derogatory way. So here's how I see it. A Christian, someone who understands that his or her ultimate citizenship is in heaven, among a communion of saints that supersedes modern geopolitical nations and eras of time. So I'm a Christian first. My brothers and sisters on the other side of the world who are different skin color than me, a different language than me, our citizenship is the overriding. We're the same citizenship before we are American or Moroccan or whatever. We're Christian first. We're these other nationalities second. But here's the nationalist part. One who seeks the welfare of the city or nation where they live. One who wants to establish fair laws and allow all peoples to flourish under them. One who wants to deal justly with evil and crime. And I think you have a lot of folks, whether they be, they get accused of Trumpism, and some of them are. I mean, some of them really do place Trump on some sort of pedestal. And every time you hear voter fraud, you're like, oh, that's a white nationalist. It's a Christian nationalist. Just because they said voter fraud, or just because they said let's investigate Dominion or whatever, let's make sure everything is above board. I think first of all you have to look at those claims and think, what is your source? Is there a reputable source or reputable reason why you're bringing this up? Let's discuss that. Let's not just write it off and just say, you're one of these kind of people. You're this Christian nationalist because you said you think Trump really won the election. You really can't put those two things together. You really don't know if they have legitimate concerns or if they're cuckoo bananas until you talk about those things. And then that has to kind of be a separate issue or go from there to what they believe about Christianity, their Christian citizenship if they are Christian. Some people are out here and they're Trumpists and they're claiming voter fraud or whatever, and they're not Christians. So we have to not just throw these terms in one big pool and say, this is a whole group of people and they're all the same and they all think this way. I'm a Christian nationalist. I think the United States is a sovereign nation. It should have its abilities to protect its borders. It should have laws, and it should make anyone who comes into this country abide by those laws. You know, we could debate all kinds of things about benefits for those who are immigrants, whether they are legal or illegal, how to make it legal, you know, for them to come in here more easily, how to help them become citizens. We can talk about what laws are fair and just, but the fact that we need to have laws and that we are a sovereign nation and we need to do all the due diligence to make sure every election is fair, because really I would say a lot of elections probably aren't fair, especially on the local level where no one really gives a crap. Everybody cares about it when it's Trump versus Biden, but do you care about it when it's your mayor or your city council? So wanting those things and seeking the welfare of your city and of your nation is a good thing. God told us to do it. He told his people to do it in the Old Testament. I think it applies to Christians now. So that's not a bad thing. But placing our Americanism, and I've done another video on this, our Christian history versus our American history, or our Christian story versus our American story. We need to make sure that we see that we are ultimately Christians first and not Americans first. But we want to be Christians whose our allegiance is to Jesus and to our brothers and sisters in Christ who are seeking to do things fairly and seeking the welfare of the place where we live. So that's my take on it. I hope that you'll grab onto that that label of I'm a Christian nationalist and don't you dare say otherwise. And here's what I think it means, you know, and discuss issues that may arise without thinking like our whole eternity depends on this, because ultimately if you're a Christian, your eternity doesn't depend on whether or not this election was stolen. It doesn't. You should want to get to the bottom of things and seek welfare of the city and of the nation. But whether you're progressive, you know, or liberal or libertarian or conservative or whatever, if you're a Christian, ultimately your salvation is not in this nation, right? Our eternity and our souls are not in the material things that we're caught up in right now in this world. So thank you for watching. That's the way I see it on Christian nationalism. Please leave me a comment. Please like and subscribe to my channel and share this video. Thank you so much.
The story of Jesus, right on my heart, every word. Tell me the story most precious, sweet.